2022. We're on the Committee of Finance. Good morning. Before we begin a public hearing, I will make the following announcements. Due to continued threat of public health from COVID-19, City Council committees are currently meeting remotely. We're using Microsoft Teams to make these remote hearings possible. Instructions for how the public may view and offer public testimony at public hearings at Council. I'm sorry, I had a little technical difficulties. Modesto, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
You are.
Due to the continued threat of public health from COVID-19, City Council committees are currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make these remote hearings possible. Instructions for how the public may view and offer public testimony at public hearings of Council committees are included in the public hearing notices that are published in the Daily News, Inquirer, and Legal Intelligencer prior to the hearing and can also be found in the phlcouncil.com. I now note the hour has come. Ms. McGonigal, will you please call the roll, take attendance. Members that are in attendance will please indicate that you are present when your names are called. Also, please say a few brief words so that your image will appear on the screen. Also, for the record, Councilmember Lozada was also appointed to the Committee of Finance for today. Mr. McGonigal.
Constituent here.
Good morning, Councilwoman Bass.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and colleagues. I am present.
Councilman Jones. Councilwoman Lozada.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, all. Excited to be here.
Councilman O. Oh, sorry.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I also am here. I, too, am excited to be here.
Councilmember Squilla.
Good morning, present.
And Councilman Jones, one more time.
Councilman Jones is trying to log in. He will be on shortly.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. A quorum of the committee is now present and the hearing is now called to order. This is a public hearing on the Committee of Finance regarding Bill number 220938. Before we read the title of the bill, we're just going to clarify. I'll let Mr. McMonagle read the title of the bill and then I'll make a comment before we start the hearing.
Bill number 220938, authorizing the Director of Commerce and the Director of Finance to enter into amendments to multi-year agreements with the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development, PAID, the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority, formerly known as the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Philadelphia, PRA, and other parties as necessary concerning the parking garage project constructed as part of the overall Market Street East Gallery 2 redevelopment project, including an additional amendment to the agreement between the city and PAID as amended, originally authorized by Bill number 546, approved June 15th, 1993, and further authorizing the Director of Commerce and the Director of Finance, where necessary or prudent, to enter into ancillary agreements with any and all PAID, PRA, Parametric Garage Associates, a new lender to Parametric, and other parties under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. McMonagle. Before we begin our hearing testimony from witnesses we have today, I first want to state that there has been some communication with my office on this legislation, and we will be amending the legislation on the parts of this ordinance that pointed to a possible striking of Filbert Street. That will lead to confusion of this ordinance was part of a current striking or a future striking, or something to do with a possible ordinance for a new arena in that area. That language is being stricken from this legislation, and so the purpose of this legislation is still, as we receive this administration bill, to just refinance the garage. So just for clarity, we wanted to make that note as we go into the hearing. So everyone has been invited to the meeting to testify should be aware that this public hearing is being recorded. Because the hearing is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. By continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. Additionally, prior to recognizing members, the questions and comments they have for witnesses, I will note for the record at this time, they will use the chat feature available on Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify they wish to be recognized in order to comply with the Sunshine Act. The chat feature must only be used for that purpose. Mr. McGonigal, can you please call the panel? We have to testify this morning for the first bill.
I'm sorry about that. Can we please have Jacqueline Dunn?
Good morning.
Good morning. Just state your name for the record and you can proceed with your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair Squilla and members of the Finance Committee. My name is Jackie Dunn, City Treasurer, and with me are Ann Nadel, Commerce Director, and Ann Fedulin, Director of Planning and Development. I'm here today to testify on the amended Bill 220938. This bill authorizes the Director of Commerce and Director of Finance to enter into an amended multi-year agreements with the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development, or PAID, the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority, or PRA, Parametric Garage Associates, and Parametric's senior lenders to permit Parametric to privately refinance its senior debt related to the parking garage located within the overall Market Street East Gallery 2 site. By way of background, Parametric Garage Associates built the garage at 11th and Filbert Streets in 1983, adjacent to the Gallery Mall, in order to satisfy the lead tenant, JCPenney's, minimum parking requirement. At the time, the city acted as a surety for bondholders, ensuring timely payment of debt service to bondholders, with an agreement by Parametric to repay the city any amounts advanced plus interest out of future years' earnings. Through 1997, when the last surety payments were made, the city was owed almost $17 million. By 2012, the city was owed over $50 million, including principal and interest. In 2012, Parametric obtained private financing to pay off the remaining bonds, and the transaction was restructured so that the garage could continue to operate, the city could be repaid approximately $13 million of what was owed, and the city received operational concessions from Parametric in exchange for the city's agreement to subordinate the balance of its debt to a new senior lender. Currently, Parametric Garage has approximately $13.9 million in outstanding senior debt, which is privately held. Additionally, the city is in a subordinate position for two notes, secured note A, which is worth approximately $11.9 million, and unsecured note B, which is worth approximately $52 million, including principal and interest. Parametric makes payments toward the outstanding balance of these notes when sufficient net revenues are available. The agreements authorized by the bill in front of the committee today would permit a new lender to repay Parametric's senior debt, would permit the city's debt to remain in a subordinate position to such a senior lender, would permit the extension of the term of the lease and the city debt by 10 years, and would allow the city to make other modifications to the loan documents to secure the city's subordinate debt in order to carry out the transaction that has been requested by Parametric. As Parametric requires the city and the PRA's approval to refinance its private senior debt, the city's debt is in a secondary position to the senior debt, and as such, this bill would preserve the value of what is owed to the city for future repayment by Parametric or a successor entity, or in the event that the garage is ever sold for fair market value. Due to the time sensitivity surrounding the closing of the refinancing of Parametric's senior debt, we are requesting that the rules of council be suspended to allow for first reading of the ordinance at the next session of council. This concludes my testimony, and I am happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And just for clarity, make sure that the amendment that we introduced today does not affect the ability for the refinancing of this garage, correct?
Correct. We support the removal of the entire Section 2 as it is unrelated to this transaction.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Are there any other questions from members of the committee? Hearing-
Mr. Chairman, I just want to be recognized as present.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones. For the record, Councilmember Jones is present. If there's no other questions for this panel, Mr. McMonigle, can you please lead the next person to testify?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can we please have Robin Heinega, followed up by Jonathan Waldman, if you would please be ready, and Zhu Lin.
Robin, if you want help. Sorry about that. Robin, just state your name for the record and you can proceed with your testimony. Robin's not available. Mr. McMonigle, can you please call the next to testify?
Jonathan Waldman, please.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning,
my
Jonathan. Just state your name for the record and you can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Waldman. I'm a longtime resident of Chinatown and a co-founder of CCOCA, which is the Concerned Citizens of Chinatown Association. I met my wife in Chinatown 36 years ago, and Chinatown plays a vital role in our lives, as well as those of our daughters and other family members. My wife volunteers in the community here. My children practice their Chinese language and culture here. We shop for groceries here that we can't get elsewhere, and we visit friends and family's homes, restaurants, and shops here for fun and socializing. My wife and children can feel safe and comfortable here, free to speak their language, practice their culture, socialize with others having similar experiences, backgrounds, and values. So the Chinese community really means the world to me, and this bill, which was rushed through in secrecy without any community heads up, demonstrates that there's no regard for the voice of the Chinatown community in determining our neighborhood's future. This bill, that Section 2, would have had a major impact on Chinatown, and like the arena process, was conducted in secrecy, in secret meetings, and meetings by invitation only, meetings with select groups and committees who say they represent Chinatown, but absolutely do not represent Chinatown. No impact studies were done. No environmental, economic, or traffic impact studies have been done. Full impact studies must be performed before this bill and future bills like this one are considered. We who live in Chinatown do not want the arena. We're not on the fence about it. We're not neutral to positive about the arena. We're not interested in CBAs or negotiating with the developers. The developers are trying to buy their way into the Chinatown community, and we will not stand for it. We're absolutely opposed to the arena. The developers keep coming into the community, trying to gaslight our residents and gaslight Philadelphians in general. We're tired of hearing from the developers, and we're tired of seeing them in Chinatown. We don't want the arena under any circumstances, conditions, or benefits agreement. We don't need more meetings. We don't want the developers coming back into Chinatown anymore. Please vote against this bill and other bills like it to help prevent the destruction of Chinatown, our homes, businesses, families, and culture. Thank you.
Jonathan, thank you so much for your testimony. Mr. McMonigle, can you read the next person to testify?
Can we please have Zhu Lin?
Zhu, if you're available, state your name and then proceed.
Can we please have Ellen Somakawa? I apologize if I pronounced that wrong.
Hello, I am Ellen Somakawa. I'm the Executive Director of the Folk Arts Cultural Treasures Charter School. I've worked in Chinatown for 34 years. Chinatown is where my 2 children went to school, where my son learned to lion dance and still lion dances every New Year. Chinatown is where 26 years ago we started the Mid-Autumn Festival, one day a year when thousands of people claim 10th Street and celebrate our community. Many of us grew up our whole lives being made to feel ashamed of who we are as Asian people. The festival is a way of raising our young people not with a sense of shame, but one of pride. Over 250 youth make the festival happen each year, and now generations of young people have come up from being toddlers at the festival to being its organizers. These beloved traditions and institutions that have taken us decades and generations to build are threatened by the whims of billionaire developers who assume they can come into any community and impose their will on us. If you facilitate the destruction of this neighborhood, You must know that it cannot be replaced. Councilman Squilla, you went with us to see the wasteland that is now DC's Chinatown. You would have no excuse. This would be a premeditated crime. I feel betrayed by our city leaders for sneaking the striking of Filbert Street into this unrelated bill. Rather than standing up with the people of Chinatown to defend our priceless community against these predators, people who are elected to serve us seem to be conspiring with the developers to grease the wheels for the approvals they need. The 76 DevCore developers have been secretive, untrustworthy, and underhanded since they first announced their project. It feels as if our city officials are considering doing their bidding in the same secretive, untrustworthy, and underhanded manner. I hope you will prove me wrong. Thank you for striking Section 2 of the bill.
Thank you, Ellen, for your testimony. And just for clarity's sake, there was no, from what I understand, there was no language in this bill that struck any street. From what it seemed to me was that if there was something in the future that would have it, then they would have to work on that at that time. There was no striking being done, and there was no arena legislation being introduced in that section. But we did remove that section because of some of the concerns we heard after the bill was introduced, and working with the administration have agreed to that. So that just for clarity. Thank you, Ellen, for your testimony. Mr. McMonagle, please read the next person to testify.
May I please have Colleen Young?
Good morning. My name is Colleen Young. My family has deep roots in Chinatown since the 1940s and has remained in Chinatown since, participating in the schools, associations, community, working in the restaurants, and establishing businesses in Chinatown. My family continues to be active in Chinatown, as have I, by volunteering weekly in the community. What I love about Chinatown is that it is a gateway for each new generation of Chinese immigrants that arrive to settle seamlessly into a community that has its culture, food, traditions, and language. Chinatown creates opportunities for these non-English speaking immigrants to be contributors within a thriving, vibrant community. It is also a sanctuary for all those outside of Chinatown to convene, socialize, and immerse in its local foods, shopping, and culture. This bill was introduced for a hearing without the community's knowledge, despite promises to proactively engage and communicate with the Chinatown community. This bill appears to be a secretive backdoor deal to facilitate the groundwork for the arena. The arena process has been shady and shrouded in secrecy behind closed doors, talking with the selected few who do not represent the whole community, despite the impression and words they convey to the developers. I'm opposed to the arena. The majority of the Chinatown community is unequivocally opposed to the arena. We are not neutral. We are not indecisive. Chinatown residents have resisted this type of development for decades, starting with the proposed stadium in 2000, the casino in 2008, and now the arena. We have fought for our right to exist and to be in control of what occurs in our neighborhood. We will not let big developers with self-interest jeopardize Chinatown's historical roots and vibrant community and facilitate its gentrification. Chinatown has flourished and grown on its own for over 150 years. Please vote against this bill so that it does not advance the development of an arena to destroy Chinatown and its surrounding areas. Thank you.
All right, for clarity again, I know everybody's testifying on that, but this does not have anything to do with the arena. We struck any language that may have reflected a possible interest in the future arena there, but we will continue to allow testimony on that, just noting that this does not have a legislation to do with an arena. So thank you. Mr. McMonagle, please read the name of the next person to testify.
Can we please have Amanda Chan?
Hello, my name is Amanda Chan and I am with Be It Lead. I am also a resident of the 19107, but I am speaking for my grandfather, his friends, and his neighbors, all of whom are Chinatown residents who have been living within a block of 10th and Filbert for the last 65 years. None of us are in support of the new arena. None of us have ever been invited to any conversations or meetings about any redevelopment plans until now. This process has been exclusionary, inaccessible, and flat out shady, so thank you to orgs like APIPA and AAU for including us. When my grandpa and his friends get together at the Friends Senior Care Center on 9th and Arch, they talk about their day with a lot of worry and concern. They worry about their grandchildren having to cross streets in the expressway during Center City rush hour in order to get home from school. They call their families to make sure that everyone is home by 6 to avoid the loud crowds and drunk groups from the convention center in Center City. They worry about their families being able to afford housing next year as gentrification continues to raise rent prices. Every day, they have safety concerns like these that exist because of the development that has already happened in and around Chinatown, and we have all had to revolve our lives around it, mentally, physically, and emotionally. They all agree that this redevelopment is going to make Chinatown even more unsafe for their families, and we all strongly oppose against the arena and against any shady redevelopment bills that are not transparently presented to the community that will be most affected by it. Our grandparents are all working class elderly folks in their 80s who have been in Chinatown and lived in Philly for the majority of their lives. They too are all affected by the noise and crowds and increased COVID risk like their families. But what really keeps them up at night are their concerns for other people and their community, which are concerns that have yet to be shared or expressed by council members or the corporate billionaire developers like David Adelman. Please make sure that any bills in the future that impact Chinatown residents are first brought to Chinatown residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Ms. McMonagle, please read the title for the next speaker.
Ronald Gaboni, please.
Hello, my name is Ronald. I graduated from Temple University and I'm speaking of the people of Chinatown.
Can we please have...
Hold on, Mr. McMonagle. Ronald is speaking. Ronald, you're breaking up a little bit. If you want to just state your name again for the record, and then you can proceed.
Sure. My name is Ronald. Representing the people of Philadelphia.
Ronald.
People of Chinatown.
Ronald, I don't know if you can hear us. Ronald.
Hello.
Yeah, please state your last name.
My last name is Gibboni, Gibboni.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Okay. So there's only one Chinatown in Philadelphia, and the Friendship Gate and the surrounding blocks of business are a beautiful part of this town, and this bill is bad because it was underhanded and quietly and quickly done to progress the plans of billionaires and to give Chinatown residents little to no time to react or respond. And the people in Chinatown and Philadelphia don't want this stadium. It's a historically significant neighborhood, and the neighborhood also has faced a long history of fighting off billionaires' development like this. And the bill should not be voted for. A stadium is not worth the destruction of a historically significant neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Romano, please read the next person to testify.
Can we please have Ethan Franz?
Hello.
Ethan, please proceed. State your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Ethan Franz, and I'm affiliated with APIPA. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that, like, the overall, like, the way this has been done has been, like, very... It feels like there's a blatant disregard for, like, Chinatown residents and their livelihoods. And, like, definitely a lack of empathy for Chinatown residents, especially, like, you know, COVID it was only 2 years ago, and people in businesses are still, you know, trying to get past that. And it just feels like with everything being done, it shows like people of wealth, they have the sense of entitlement, and they just feel like they can just toss their money around and then just, you know, hope for the best. And just wanted to say that, like, the surreptitious nature in which, like, all of these things have been happening, it really just, yeah, shows that they just, they don't care about Chinatown residents. And, you know, I've been doing a lot of canvassing myself for people, and a lot of people do not want this stadium, just anecdotally speaking. Like, the majority of people that I've spoken to are either unaware that it's happening or just outright do not want it. So I just wanted to, express my disdain for the overall way that this has been done. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Monagle, can you please read the name of the next person to testify?
I apologize if I mispronounce this. Hongao Wei.
Mr. Way, if you're available, state your name. And to Ms. McMonagle, we're going to read the next person.
Can we please have Hannah Sassaman?
Anna, if you'd like to state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Did you call me?
Anna?
This is Hannah. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. State your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning. My name is Hannah Sassaman, and I am the Executive Director of People's Tech Project. And I've worked at 10th and Arch, or 10th Cherry, rather, since before the pandemic. We've rented an office there. And what I love about Chinatown is that the businesses there are incredibly vibrant. Just there's so much activity on the streets. My children come and visit me, after school, and they're big fans of the Tito store, the Sanrio store. I'll eat a Casey's Pastries pineapple bun any day of the week. This is a vibrant, living neighborhood in the middle of Philadelphia that is absolutely precious. And while I know that you struck the clause that was focusing on starting to pave the way for the arena, it was just completely not above board to be in communication with the businesses, communities, schools, and neighborhoods of Chinatown about that work. And so I'm against any legislation that doesn't have the full and engaged participation of the Chinatown community about development on its borders. And please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions or concerns. Thank you so much.
Anna, thank you so much for your testimony. Mr. McMonagle, can you please read the next person to testify?
Can we please have Benjamin Shi?
Ben, state your name for your record and then proceed with your testimony. Mr. McMonagle, can you please read the next person to testify?
How about Deborah Kodish?
Kodish, if you're connected.
Hi, I'm Deborah Kodish, founding director of the Philadelphia Folklore Project and a co-founder of the Folk Arts Cultural Treasures Charter School in Chinatown. There's major decisions to be made about the future of our cities. They shouldn't be made by way of a sly subterfuge when no one is looking. This self-planning shows the true character of developers who can't and won't face scrutiny about the real harm that will be done. This bill is originally written totally disrespects the majority of Chinatown residents who absolutely do not want an arena, and it disregarded the wide support Chinatown has among people who love the place. This bill, as originally written, paved the way for advancing a major disruptive project in the heart of Philadelphia without any serious attention to the harm. Where is the solid, unbiased environmental, cultural, and economic assessment that shows the true impact of major development on a historic and treasured community? I say no to the bill as originally written and no to an arena that would irreparably damage Chinatown, one of the few remaining vital communities of color in Center City, Philadelphia, and one of the few vital Chinatowns on the East Coast, a Philadelphia gem. We should be putting our energies into protecting and preserving Chinatown, not making it easier for billionaires looking to profit. Thank you.
Again, just for clarity, thank you for your testimony. This bill does not pave a way for an arena and does not allow an arena to be built, or even the language that we struck allowed that or allowed a striking. Mr. McGonigal, can you please call the name of the next person to testify?
Can we please have Sarun Chan?
Sarun, if you're available, state your name and proceed with your testimony. If you're not connecting, Mr. McMonagle, can you please call the next person to testify?
Can we please have Grace Fan?
Grace, just state your name for the record and then proceed with your testimony.
Hi, good morning. My name is Grace Fan. I'm the Youth Programs Coordinator at Asian Americans United. I'm calling today, like everyone else, about Bill number 220938. And though I'm extremely glad the Filbert Street section of this bill was removed, as you've been saying, Councilman Scola, our community will not forget that this bill did nearly help pave the way for the construction of the 76ers Arena in Chinatown. Making it that much easier for our community to be gentrified out of its home. This is something that we really care about, and that's why we're showing up here today. And while the 76ers Arena has been continually framed as a benefit to the surrounding area by the very people who will make millions off of its development, the people who rely on Chinatown as the very cultural, economic, familial, and relational lifeblood of our community knows that, the 76ers Arena will only be a lethal virus infecting our vibrant community that until all that's left is a McDonald's next to a Starbucks with a Chinese sign. And, I don't want to believe that this is what our council members want for our Asian immigrant community. As a youth programs coordinator at AAU, I know how much Chinatown means to the Asian American youth in Philadelphia. After hard days at school, years of facing a global pandemic, and years of ongoing anti-Asian violence on public transit and in the streets, they need somewhere safe to go with friends, get food that reminds them of the country they grew up in, and share their favorite dessert that they can't get anywhere else. And where are young people going to go if the 76ers Arena destroys Chinatown? So please, we're asking you to help us protect this community that we're putting our lives on pause to protect. And please allow our community to have agency over our future and oppose the arena with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Also note for the record, I know AAU is having a meeting with the 76ers coming up on the 14th, and people that want to talk about that, please attend that meeting with AAU and the 76ers arena proposal. Again, we're trying to make it clear that this bill is not that, but understanding your concerns and your interest, and I appreciate your testimony. Mr. McMonagle, can you please read the next person to testify?
Can we please have Mariah Gutierrez?
Hi, my name is Mireya Gutierrez, and I am a 12th grader and a youth intern at Asian Americans United. Although the section of the bill number 220938 mentioning the closing of Filbert Street has been removed, I believe a lot of us have come here today to remind everyone how much we need transparent communication from City Council. As one of the last thriving Chinatowns left in the U.S., we are precious and valuable, and should be treated that way. I am still a teenager. I've only been to 2 Mid-Autumn festivals. I have yet to find the cheapest and best place for fried dumplings. And if this process of ignoring our neighborhood and its leaders continues, I worry that I won't be able to bring my future children here. To deny that closing down Filbert Street between 10th and 11th and Chinatown, that building a 76ers in the Fashion District is simply willful ignorance. This whole idea that Chinatown folks don't mind or might not want to be involved is rooted in stereotypical ideas of Asian Americans being labeled as passive and docile. We do not want the arena. Our Chinatown cannot survive yet another giant development right on our streets. We don't want another settlement meeting assuring us that things will be okay when we know for a fact they won't be. Having backdoor meetings and sneaking around us will not work. And for us to have a thriving Philadelphia community and healthy Chinatown, transparency is crucial. As someone who is thrilled to vote for the first time in the next election, I hope to be represented by people who listen to their communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony, and thank you for participating in today's hearing. Again, just for clarity, and I know I said it a couple times, but this does not strike a street even before the amendment or after the amendment. Understanding your concerns, again, as we heard, and please, if you want to talk about the arena, please go to the AAU meeting with the proposal folks of the arena and on the 14th. Thank you. Ms. McMonagle, please read the next person to testify.
Can we please have Tina Nagao?
And if you're available. Logged in. If not, Ms. McMonagle, can you please read the next person to testify?
Can we please have Jordan Rosh?
Hi. Good morning. My name is Jordan Rosh, and I'm a youth intern at Asian Americans United. I'm speaking today to voice my frustration with the way Chinatown's community has been treated with regards to Bill 220938. Councilmember Scola, I feel that your failure to communicate with your constituents has revealed a blatant disregard for the concerns of many Philadelphians, but especially our Asian elders, youth, and non-English speaking community members who would be most vulnerable to the effects of the 76ers arena. And let's be honest, the section of Filbert Street that has been removed for today's hearing was clearly meant to pave the way for the construction of the arena. I'm disturbed by your conduct, not because I didn't get the memo until yesterday, but because your actions more broadly reveal that you either don't understand what's at stake here or you just don't care. This bill would have prioritized the whims of destructive billionaires over the people who have poured their lives into Chinatown and into Philadelphia. The immigrants who come here and find a safe harbor, the elders who want to live out their days surrounded by their families, the youth who want to understand our heritage and who we are. Don't the members of our community have a right to know what the city plans to do with our home? That our cultures, our histories, our traditions, our hopes for the future matter? Your lack of transparency makes us feel insignificant, and moving forward, we need you to prioritize the futures of your constituents, not those of out-of-town billionaires. I know you saw DC's Chinatown. This arena would mean destruction and displacement. The very least you can do is be honest and open about what's really going on and not leave us scrambling for information about major decisions being made behind closed doors. You owe it to the community, to the elders who need affordable housing, to the business owners who rely on regulars to break even, to the kids who meet up for boba every Friday, to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. And also, just to be clear, the legislation that came through came through the administration, and I amended the language out. And understanding, I know there's some confusion on what happened there, but you know, we do the best to represent our interest in our community, and when we heard concerns, we acted. Mr. McMonagle, can you please read the next person to testify?
Can we please have Chris Henderson?
All right, Mr. McMonagle, could you please read the next person to testify?
So can we please have Robin Heinegger?
All right, if Robin's not connected, Mr. McMonagle, is there any other people to testify in this legislation?
Can we please have Nikki Grant?
Good morning, council members. My name is Nikki Grant. I'm the policy director at Amistad Law Project. We are a small nonprofit legal organization, and our office is located in Chinatown. Every day I go to work, I feel honored and blessed to be part of such a vibrant, active, and beautiful community. Every one of our neighbors that we have spoken to is absolutely against the construction of an arena in the neighborhood, and they've expressed real fear that will be pushed out and the community will be destroyed, much like the Chinatown in DC. Look, we all of the 76ers, I still trust the process, but not at the expense of the residents and the businesses in Chinatown who deserve to thrive and to be completely at the forefront of any plans that impact their home. I'm glad that today's bill apparently won't contribute to that, what we fear, but I do hope that you listen to the community members who've spoken today before pursuing any future legislation that might pave the way for the arena. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Mr. McMonagle, please read the next person to testify.
Can we please have Camille DeSerto?
Camille, are you connected? If not, Mr. McMonagle, please read the next person.
Can we please have Sergio Cia?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed. Will you state your name for the record and you can proceed with your testimony? Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning, Councilmember. My name is Sergio Sea. I'm the political director of Reclaim Philadelphia. Our organization's office is located in Chinatown. We moved into that workspace before the pandemic, and we've shared those offices with our movement organization partners in the city. So I spent a lot of time working, eating, socializing, and organizing in Chinatown with friends, visiting family, and citywide partners. Although I've lived in Philadelphia for 10 years, roughly a third of my life, I was born in Washington, D.C., and so I've seen and know the impact sports arenas have had on cultural communities like D.C.'s Chinatown. I'm worried how the rich and unique communities here who rely on and depend on each other will be pushed out and displaced, destroying long ties to generational community that have existed here for decades and for decades have fought back similar attempts. I'm worried about Chinatown looking more and more like Times Square. And when these communities disappear, we know that they cannot be replaced. There's no ambiguity on where the community stands on these proposals. The majority of Philly Chinatown community is opposed to the arena, and despite promises for ongoing communication, they were not consulted before this hearing was brought up. Their voices cannot continue to be ignored and should be center. To many, this bill looks like a backdoor deal to pave way for that arena. And although I have been told, and I hear that some edits have been made removing Filbert Street language, many find this whole process sneaky and untrustworthy. And because of this, we really advise y'all to vote against this and listen to the voices of the community in Chinatown. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Mr. McGonigal, could you please read the next person to testify?
Can we please have Justin Lee?
Justin, if you're available, connected, please testify. Mr. McGonigal, could you please read the next person?
Can we please have David Caillou? I apologize if I mispronounced
No
that.
problem. Good morning. My name is Dave Q. Can you hear me? Okay, wonderful.
Yes, we hear you fine.
My name is Dave Q, and I've worked in Chinatown at Asian Arts Initiative for the past 13 years. I just want to remind Councilman Squilla has been a friend to Asian Arts Initiative when we were displaced by the expansion of the convention center. It was Councilman Squilla's office that helped us secure funding to purchase a new building in the neighborhood. When we needed a roads repaved, Councilman Squilla helped us be on that list when the streets department was coming through. And most recently, it was Councilman Squilla's office that advised us as we installed a community fridge on our block to help feed our neighbors. I do wonder aloud if this amendment is irrelevant to the business of the bill and was in fact so easy to strike from the bill, why it was ultimately added in the first place so late in the evening. I appreciate that Councilman Squilla has cautioned the developers to work with the community members, that he has said it is vital actually for their processes. I'm here to tell you that they have not. And that is why so many Chinatown members are here in this finance meeting for a quote unquote unrelated bill, because they have not included our voices. We have no other means to be included, and that is why we are here testifying today. We invite Council and Councilman Squilla to act with integrity and transparency in this process moving forward, and hope that you will continue to support and include
Mr. Chair, council members and participants, we are now live.
Thank you, Reverend Haneke. Just again, state your name for the record and then restart your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. My name is Reverend Robin Haneke, and I'm the pastor of the Arch Street United Methodist Church and the vice president of Center City Organized for Responsible Development, a registered community organization committed to transparent, near-neighbor engagement in Center City development. The congregation includes members who live and work in Chinatown. Early in the life of the Folk Arts Cultural Treasures Charter School, which was a creation of educators, parents, and children highly invested in the future of Chinatown, the church's sanctuary served as the school's auditorium for assemblies and other large events. My congregation is committed to the preservation and the expansion of Chinatown and is absolutely opposed to the proposed sports arena. The name of the RCO I'm a member of, Center City Organized for Responsible Development, speaks for itself. It is committed to community economic development that prioritizes neighborhood voices. These voices ought to outweigh billionaire dollars. For decades, Market East development has been in the hands of developers who have delivered failure after failure. The time has come to invest in the Chinatown neighborhood, its preservation and expansion. I am very, very glad to hear that the bill in its original form has been amended to extract the provision that would strike Filbert Street between 10th and 11th Streets. But the mere fact that this item was in the original bill raises deep concerns about the transparency of the process that might lead to the potential development of an arena at 10th and Market. I am at this point formally requesting that the city conduct an impact study on the order of one required when federal funds are invested in any project and would have a major impact in Chinatown and its near neighbors. Thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much, Reverend Hanukkah. And just again, I just want to reiterate that the legislation never struck a street or intended to strike a street. There was language in there talking about Filbert Street and a possible striking in the future. But once we received concern about that language being in there, we did.
Okay, Mr. Chair, it looks like channel 64 speed is back up. So we are ready to go. Just give me the cue and we can get started.
All right, yeah, if we could get the okay when we're ready to go, and then I'll call on Councilmember Bass.
Okay, it looks like we're live now, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Modesto. Councilmember Bass for comment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So no, I just wanted to wrap up by saying that this is not going to be a process that's, pushed through in the middle of the night. We're not going to be doing anything of the sort. And I know that, there are those members of the council, such as myself, who have very strong reservations and concerns about this particular project and what it would do to the community. I was just saying that my mother grew up in Camden, and when they brought in the expressway, it completely decimated the African-American community and population in Camden, New Jersey. So I know that with these large infrastructure projects, for all that they do, all that they bring, the good and the not so good, and the effects on people who have lived in communities for a very long time. So I just wanted to really underscore that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. Councilmember Jones. You're muted, Councilmember. But you sounded good.
I hate when that happens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to echo what Member Bass said, to the degree that this will not be rushed, that out of the membership involved, I know you are methodical. I know you are open to other views contrary even to your own, and that at the end of the day, we will have a decision that reflects your values, that reflects the community's concerns, and I am totally confident in that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council Member, and I agree. And I also made a commitment to the Chinatown community that nothing would move forward with before all their questions were answered and everything was thoroughly investigated, and then we would decide what how the process would play out at that point. There's so many different organizations in Chinatown. All the voices need to be heard. I understand their concerns with this hearing, even though the intent was not to be in a Chinatown arena discussion. I do understand and respect their comments on what has happened during not this legislation, but future legislation also. So thank you all for participating and hanging in there and allowing the community representatives to have their say during this hearing. So without any further questions or comments from members for the last panel, no other panels to testify. We'll take a brief break to connect members to a public that wish to testify on the bill before the committee today. Mr. Monaco, are there any public commenters?
Modesto, is there anyone that wants to connect?
We'll need a minute or so just to try to connect an individual that wanted to testify.
Thank you, Modesto.
You're welcome.
I know if people are still on, Asian Americans United is holding a meeting on December 14th on the arena proposal with the host. It looks like the meeting time is at 6 to 7:30 at Ocean Harbor Restaurant, 1023 Race Street. Hopefully, questions about the arena impacts and things like that will be heard at the AAU meeting with the arena folks. Thank you. And also for who was that, Modesto?
Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, if you want to make a public comment, please state your name for the record and then proceed with your comment on the current legislation.
Okay, thank you. My name is Casey Butcher. I'm a resident of Philadelphia. I'm a community organizer with Power Interfaith. I just want to share that, while I'm happy that the amendment relative to the stadium construction in Chinatown has been modified or withdrawn at the last minute, I do want to say that it's really important to me that the community, there's really thorough listening in the community to make sure that the citizens are involved in making decisions about our built environment all across the city, including in Chinatown, and that the city should make efforts, and our representatives in the city government should make efforts to protect historic neighborhoods, protect communities that have been, living together for, generations. And it's one of the last kind of communities of color that's integrated as such in Center City, Philadelphia. And I think that, the zoning as it is right now with all the stadiums on the south side of the city is really smart. It makes it easy for traffic. And I would just encourage City Council to make every effort to protect Chinatown, but certainly not to pass any measures with their back to the community without having kind of listened to folks like myself and others who really value Chinatown in the city and want to make sure that it's here for generations to come.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your testimony and agreed. Also, the one comment about being smart and the arenas in South Philadelphia, you talk to some of the residents there and they don't think it's so smart there too. So we do understand the concerns and efforts that need to go into these type of discussions and possible developments of such. So thank you for your testimony. Modesto, is there anyone else who needs to be connected?
There may be, but I'm not in charge of the list. I don't know.
All right. No, I was
Your call
asking
has been
that.
forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Our IT guys, thank you.
267
Thank you for your
237.
We had one more person, Mr. Chair, but unfortunately, we received their voicemail.
Okay. Thank you. Seeing that there's no one else to testify, I want to thank all panels and witnesses for their participation today. We value their opinions, and I would like to invite all panels and witnesses to please disconnect from the hearing before we go into our public meeting. We will now pause the proceedings briefly as multiple participants leave the hearing. As soon as everybody leaves, we will go into our public meeting. Okay, this concludes the public hearing for the committee. We will now go into our public meeting to consider this action to be taken on the bills before this committee today. Ms. McGonigal, will you please call the roll to take attendance? For members that are in attendance, just indicate that you are present, and we will start our public meeting.
Councilwoman Bass.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and colleagues. I am still present.
Councilman Jones.
Mr. Chairman, colleagues, I'm present.
Councilman O.
Present.
Councilman Squilla.
Present. And Councilmember Lozada.
Councilmember Lozada had to leave.
Okay, thank you so much. We still have a quorum?
Yes, we do, sir.
Thank you, Mr. McMonagle. We will now go into our public meeting. The chair recognizes Councilmember Bass for a motion on the amendment to Bill number 220938.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I offer an amendment to Bill number 220938. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee, and I move that the amendment to Bill number 220938 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Jones seconded the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 220938 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Bass for a motion on Bill number 220938 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Bill number 220938 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
Second.
Thank you. The chair notes for the record, Councilmember Jones seconded the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that Bill number 220938 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, ayes have it, and the motion carries. That will conclude the meeting. This concludes the business before the Committee on Finance. Thank you all very much for your attendance and patience. Have a great day. And be a jump on the streets hearing if you're on that committee. Thank you.